Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. It is Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Calgary, Alberta, and April 14th, and I'm happy to be here. It's Child Abuse Prevention and Human Rights Abuse Prevention is up to us, and this is a half-an-hour program on a live internet streaming radio broadcast on blogtalkradio.com, and tonight we're looking at internet safety, all week actually, and it's so important to keep your kids safe and to keep yourself safe when you're online, and especially for children, because we see so many reports in the paper nowadays and coming out on the news of children who are meeting people that they meet in chat rooms who they think are their 10-year-old buddies, and it turns out that it's a child sexual predator, and these kids are being, either killed at the hands of these child sexual predators or their lives are completely ruined by them. So this is why I just really feel it's so important to cover this. I've been wanting to do this for about 4 weeks now, but we were working on the Survivor to Thriver workbook, which I moved to the morning show. So I thought, hey, we'll just get right into internet safety, and especially for children, it's so important. So this is not a professional show. I don't hold any professional certificates, counseling certificates, therapist certificates, or anything like that. I'm just a person who does Blog Talk radio shows just because I think there's not enough. I just want to add my voice to the voices that are out there right now. And I just feel like there's not enough people talking about child abuse prevention, human rights abuse prevention, the issues surrounding child abuse, the fact that it's actually going on. A lot of people just seem to think it's just a bunch of made-up yahoo, but actually it's real, it's horrific, and we really need to stop it. Because these are real children that we're talking about, not just statistics, not just made up names in the paper and whatnot. These are real babies and real children who are suffering at the hands of parents and caregivers, and it's really got to stop. And so I just want to be one more voice out there, just to raise my voice and to be a voice for those children who do not have a voice, and really to become their voice, and to say that we really have to work at finding ways to prevent and stop child abuse. So I'm happy to be here to do this show. I pay to do my own show, and I just think it's so worth it, and just to get information out to people, and information that they might not hear somewhere else, or just didn't know where to find the information or whatnot. I study human rights. I study child rights. I'm a part-time student at MRU in Calgary. I'm in between courses, and the courses are not all that expensive, but I couldn't afford to go anymore because I had lost my job. Now I got a job back, but I still haven't been able to come up with the funds to go back to school. But I plan on doing it and continuing on for my certificate program, and hopefully eventually a degree in child rights and human rights and different areas like that. And so that's why I'm doing this, the work. I do the research on all of this stuff. I'm just researching continually, and I just thought, why not bring out this information to people that I find, and just be one more voice out there to do it. So I'm glad that you can join me. And if the topics of abuse or any kind of topics that like about violence or domestic violence, sexual assault, abuse, and whatnot bother you, please turn the show off. You have to listen at your own discretion. It's up to you to make the decision whether or not this show is something that you should be listening to. And if it's going to bother you, please turn it off, because you won't be hurting my feelings at all, right? And if you're a young person under the age of 18, you need to have someone listen to this show with you. And the reason being is that we're talking about internet safety here tonight. And I believe that, kids really should have someone in their life, an adult. If you don't have a parent who has the time or who cares enough to listen to what you're listening to, and to check out what you're checking out online, then you need to find someone who can do that, like maybe a teacher, a counselor at school, a coach, a mentor, someone who you trust and is trustworthy, and who have proven themselves trustworthy, right? And they can help you decide whether or not you should be listening to this. And also, if they say it's okay, then they can help you with questions that you might have, and they might want to listen to it with you. You can listen to the archive shows as well. There's lots of archive shows there you can go back and listen to it. And I just think it's so important, because kids' safety is number one. Children's safety is number one, and we have to look out for children. We have to look out for kids, and it's so important, to be those eyes and those ears, and that sense of safety for children, right? So important. They can't do it themselves, and they really need our help. So I just hope that you have a parent that would do that for you. But if you don't, like I said, maybe a counselor at school or a teacher or someone who can listen with you and help you make the decision whether you should be listening to this show. There's a lot of adult material on here, and it could be something that might bother you and you just wouldn't know who to talk to about it. So that's why it's very important to have someone listen to this with you. So tonight we're looking at Internet safety. It's a parent's guide to Internet safety. I found it just looking around this morning, actually. Well, I think it was, or maybe it was late last night. I can't remember. It must have been this morning at http and then www.fbi.gov/publications/p-guide, parents guide, right? And so it's the FBI website, and they have a great article here. It's called A Parent's Guide to Internet Safety, U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation Publications. And it's really for parents. Then there's another bunch of stuff that we're going to look at that's for kids too, but I don't know if we'll get to that tonight. But that's specifically for children, right? And youth and younger people. But this one is a parent's guide. So we're going to go over this one first here tonight, because it's such a good bunch of information for parents who might not know exactly what to do or how to keep their children safe, right? Not everybody knows this stuff, and not everybody has gone through the whole thing of having to block certain things or filter certain things so that certain emails and certain information cannot come into your computer. I know I haven't done it because I just use my computer. No one else uses it. No one else uses it. So I've never had to do that. So it's really good information for all of us, really, for every single one of us, to keep ourselves safe and to keep our children safe if we have children and a family, right? So I'll just read from this actual publication, and you can pull it up. I'll give that website to you again, www.fbi.gov/publications/p-guide, G-U-I-D-E. And it says, Dear Parent, our children are our nation's most valued asset. They represent the bright future of our country and hold our hopes for a better nation. Our children are also the most vulnerable members of society. Protecting our children against the fear of crime and from becoming victims of crime must be a national priority. Unfortunately, the same advances in computer and telecommunication technology that allow our children to reach out to new sources of knowledge and cultural experiences are also leaving them vulnerable to exploitation and harm by computer sex offenders. I hope that this pamphlet helps you to begin to understand the complexities of online child exploitation. For further information, please contact your local FBI office or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678. And this is a letter that was written by Louis J. Freeh, F-R-E-E-H, former director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So that's right, children are our most valuable asset, and they really are. They are our future, and so we have to protect them. We have to do all we can to set up safeguards. And while it's our responsibility as adults in this situation to do this for these up and coming generations of children who are going to grow up and become adults. And really, we owe it to them to do all that we can to protect them. And that means every protection they can possibly be afforded. You know what I mean? It's a human right, child rights, human rights. I study human rights. I know all about them. And children have the right to life. They have the right to protection. They have the right to provision, to education, to everything, right? So, protection is a big one in there. They have a right to feel safe, to be safe. And so we have to, as, the adults in the situation, really work, I think, to come up with some answers. And I mean, I'm not a think tank. I wish I was. But the thing is it's just, if the more people get to talking about it, the more communication gets going on it, and then the more people actually start thinking, hey, we could do this, or you know what I mean? This is how things get started. And so I think if more of us really became educated and aware of the situation and aware of what's going on with Internet safety and online issues for children, safety for children online, we could really save a lot of children from becoming victims of, computer sex offenders, like they said here, or, child sex offenders, right? So important. So the introduction to this, I'll just read right from the page here. While online computer exploration opens a world of possibilities for children, expanding their horizons and exposing them to different cultures and ways of life, they can be exposed to dangers as they hit the road exploring the information highway. There are individuals who attempt to sexually exploit children through the use of online services and the Internet. Some of these individuals gradually seduce their targets through the use of attention, affection, kindness, and even gifts. These individuals are often willing to devote considerable amounts of time, money, and energy in this process. They listen to and empathize with the problems of children. They will be aware of the latest music, hobbies, and interests of children. And these individuals attempt to gradually lower children's inhibitions by slowly introducing sexual context and content into their conversations. There are other individuals, however, who immediately engage in sexually explicit conversation with children. Some offenders primarily collect and trade child pornographic images, while others seek face-to-face meetings with children via online contacts. And it is important for parents to understand that children can be indirectly victimized through conversation, for example, chat, as well as the transfer of sexually explicit information and material. Computer sex offenders may also be evaluating children they come in contact with online for future face-to-face contact and direct victimization. Parents and children should remember that a computer sex offender can be any age or sex. The person does not have to fit the character of a dirty, unkempt older man wearing a raincoat to be someone who could harm a child. Children, especially adolescents, are sometimes interested in and curious about sexuality and sexually explicit material. They may be moving away from the total control of parents and seeking to establish new relationships outside their family. Because they may be curious, children and adolescents sometimes use their online access to actively seek out such materials and individuals. Sex offenders targeting children will use and exploit these characteristics and needs. Some adolescent children may also be attracted to and lured by online offenders closer to their age, who, although not technically child molesters, may be dangerous. Nevertheless, they have been seduced and manipulated by a clever offender and do not fully understand or recognize the potential danger of these contacts. And this guide was prepared from actual investigations involving child victims, as well as investigations where law enforcement officers posed as children. Further information on protecting your child online may be found in the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's Child Safety on the Information Highway and Teen Safety on the Information Highway pamphlets. So yeah, it's so important. This is happening. It's real, and it's good that the FBI has done this. They've got people who've posed as children who were actually police officers, and they have the information. They know this is happening, and it's just so important to protect your children. We cannot even understate that. It's a must. We must do it. It's not something that we should do. We just must do it. And, I don't have children, but if I did, I tell you, it's a huge wake-up call when you start seeing articles in the paper about young people who go out and meet these people that they think are their friends because they say that they're their age, right? They might be 10 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old, whatever. And it's actually a child sexual predator. And, their lives are ruined. If they're not killed, their lives are ruined by these people. And, this is happening. These are someone's children. This is someone's kids. We have to take action. We have to make this happen. We have to make this world a safer place for our children. And since we know that there's a lot of sick people out there doing this stuff, we have to protect ourselves and our children. So important. So it says here, what are signs that your child might be at risk online? Your child spends large amounts of time online, especially at night. Most children that fall victim to computer sex offenders spend large amounts of time online, particularly in chat rooms. They may go online after dinner and on the weekends. They may be latchkey kids whose parents have told them to stay at home after school. They go online to chat with friends, make new friends, pass time, and sometimes look for sexually explicit information. While much of the knowledge and experience gained may be valuable, parents should consider monitoring the amount of time spent online. And children online are at the greatest risk during the evening hours. While offenders are online around the clock, most work during the day and spend their evenings online trying to locate and lure children or seeking pornography. You find pornography on your child's computer. That's another sign that your child might be at risk online, right? You find pornography on your child's computer. Pornography is often used in the sexual victimization of children. Sex offenders often supply their potential victims with pornography as a means of opening sexual discussions and for seduction. Child pornography may be used to show the child victim that sex between children and adults is normal. Parents should be conscious of the fact that a child may hide the pornographic files on diskettes from them. This may be especially true if the computer is used by other family members. So that's just so huge. They could be hiding this stuff on diskettes, and you might want to just check through, run some of these diskettes and find out what's actually on them. And, go through all the different ways that you can check to see what your child is actually looking at. And, really, you have to really become proactive about it, I guess, because I know if I had a child, you'd have to just go behind them and check and see what they've been doing all day or all night online. So important, right? Because it'd probably be pretty shocking, actually, if you did, to see what might be on there, right? It's so important because we know this is happening. This is reality, man. This is like real. And so it's not a joke. And your kid could be in serious danger and you wouldn't even know it. But if you just take the time to just do a little bit of snooping, I mean, unfortunately, right, has to be done to save your children's lives. And I think, if my kid, if I had a child and they were complaining because I was taking a look at some of the stuff that they had been looking at online and stuff, I think what I would do is I'd show them a whole bunch of newspaper articles of children that fell prey and victim to online child predators and whose lives were ruined. And I'd say, do you want that to be you? You know what I mean? I'm trying to save you from this. So important, so important. We have to do it. It says here, you find pornography on okay, we already looked at. Your child receives phone calls from men you don't know or is making calls, sometimes long distance, to numbers you don't recognize. That's another sign that your child might be at risk online. And while talking to a child victim online is a thrill for a computer sex offender, it can be very cumbersome. Most want to talk to the children on the telephone. They often engage in phone sex with the children and often seek to set up an actual meeting for real sex. When a child may be hesitant to give out his or her home phone number, the computer sex offender will give out theirs. With caller ID, they can readily find out the child's phone number. Some computer sex offenders have even obtained toll-free 800 numbers so that their potential victims can call them without their parents finding out. Others will tell the child to call collect. Both of these methods result in the computer sex offender being able to find out the child's phone number. Horrible. Just absolutely horrible. So yeah, check your phone bills. Find out what the 800 numbers are. Check, you see odd numbers on there that you don't know whose number that is. We have to be really on the lookout for our kids, right? And they aren't necessarily going to make the best decisions for themselves because they don't realize how dangerous this world really is. And even though they might hear about some of the stuff that's going on, in their minds, they don't have the knowledge base of what's actually happening. And so it doesn't seem like a real threat to them. You know what I mean? But, reality is, it is a threat. And it is scary. And I tell you, I'd be looking in on what my kids were doing, absolutely. Just to save their lives, right? So important. So here's another way that you can tell if your child is maybe, in danger of becoming a victim here of online child predators. Your child receives mail, gifts, or packages from someone you don't know. As part of the seduction process, it is common for offenders to send letters, photographs, and all manner of gifts to their potential victims. Computer sex offenders have even sent plane tickets in order for the child to travel across the country to meet them. Now that's crazy, but I suppose the FBI has seen it all. And, because this article is coming from the FBI. And I'm telling you, I can't even imagine that, you know what I mean? You got to really look out for your kids. And here's another one. Your child turns the computer monitor off or quickly changes the screen on the monitor when you come into the room. And a child looking at pornographic images or having sexually explicit conversations does not want you to see it on the screen. So that's why they turn it off quickly, or they'll change the screen so that you can't see it when you come in the room. So that's why it's so important. They might be hiding this stuff from you, and if you didn't check in on it because you just didn't want to be nosy, or you wanted to give them their privacy because they're older, and you're thinking, oh well, they need their space, they need their privacy and stuff. It's a serious issue, and it's just nice to know the parents care. They might not be happy about it at the time, and I can imagine, because I used to be young once too, and I know, they might not be appreciative at the time of you being so snoopy and nosy, but the thing is later when they get to be adults and they realize that the amount of work that you went through to try to protect them, they probably will thank you for it. You know what I mean? They probably will really appreciate it and thank you for it in the long run. and after they're adults and grown up and they see what's actually going on out there, maybe especially after they have their own children, that it would really hit home to them just how much you really cared enough to do this, so important. And it says here, your child becomes withdrawn from the family. Computer sex offenders will work very hard at driving a wedge between a child and their family, or at exploiting their relationship. They will accentuate any minor problems at home that the child might have. Children may also become withdrawn after sexual victimization. So that's another way. If all of a sudden your child becomes withdrawn and just doesn't want to do anything with the family anymore, seems very quiet and despondent, just wants to sit in front of the computer, or just seems very withdrawn, you got to check into that, because children don't just all of a sudden do stuff like that. There has to be something that would happen to cause them to be that way, and this would have to be something noticeable, right? A noticeable withdrawal from the family, right? So that you would really be like, something's wrong. That's a red flag. That is a total red flag, and it's so important to investigate and find out what's actually going on. And it says here, your child is using an online account belonging to someone else. Even if you don't subscribe to an online service or internet service, your child may meet an offender while online at a friend's house or the library. Most computers come preloaded with online and or internet software. Computer sex offenders will sometimes provide potential victims with a computer account for telecommunications or for communications with them. So that's right, because kids can access the computers in libraries, other people's homes, different places, even in some schools. And the thing is you would hope that they would have these blocks on and different things like that, but they might not. And so you have to really know where your kids are. If there's computers there, will they be using them? And so important. I know it sounds like maybe a parent might be going overboard, but when you see these newspaper reports about these kids who thought they were meeting their 12-year-old friend, and it turns out that it was a child sexual predator, and they were assaulted by them, and their lives are just it's just a tragedy for the family, and they might have not been killed, but their lives will definitely be scarred from this, right, for the rest of their lives. That's when you realize that, no, you can't be too safe. You just can't be too protective. You have to do it. It's a sick, sad world out there, and it's sad to say it, but it's unfortunate. But it has been since I was born, since before I was born. It's just, you have to do it. You have to protect your kids. And they might not like it at the time, but they will thank you later. I'm so serious about this. I know if I had kids, I know that the fussing and the fight would probably be on, because they wouldn't want that. They would feel like you were crowding in on them and not giving them their space, not trusting them, right? But the thing is I think it's so important, especially when kids are really young and starting to use the computer, to let them know what's actually going on, and that they have to be safe. And there's all kinds of tips and stuff and things that you can you tell even young children that they will understand. And that is, do not ever give out any personal information, and don't tell people where you live. Don't tell them what school you go to. Don't even use your real name. Use a screen name, just some pretend made-up name. I mean, there's just lots of ways that you can kind of work to prevent this kind of stuff. Even with this kind of work being done to prevent something as traumatic as having to have your life ruined by a child sexual predator, even with protection, the odds are that kids it's still going to happen. But we can help prevent a lot of it, I think, if we really become educated and aware of the situation, right? It says here, what should you do if you suspect your child is communicating with a sexual predator online? They say here, consider talking openly with your child about your suspicions. Tell them about the dangers of computer sex offenders, and review what is on your child's computer. If you don't know how, ask a friend, coworker, relative, or another knowledgeable person. Pornography or any kind of sexual communication can be a warning sign. And use the caller ID service to determine who is calling your child. Most telephone companies that offer caller ID also offer a service that allows you to block your number from appearing on someone else's caller ID. Telephone companies also offer an additional service feature that rejects incoming calls that you block. And this rejection feature prevents computer sex offenders or anyone else from calling your home anonymously. Devices can be purchased that show telephone numbers that have been dialed from your home phone. Additionally, the last number called from your home phone can be retrieved provided that the telephone is equipped with a redial feature, and you will also need a telephone pager to complete this retrieval. This is done using a numeric display pager in another phone that is on the same line as the first phone with the redial feature. Using the two phones and the pager, a call is placed from the second phone to the pager. When the paging terminal beeps for you to enter a telephone number, you press the redial button on the first or the suspect phone, and the last number called from the phone will then be displayed on the pager. Monitor your child's access to all types of live electronic communications, for example, chat rooms, instant messages, internet relay chat, etc., and monitor your child's email. Computer sex offenders almost always meet potential victims via chat rooms, and after meeting a child online, they will continue to communicate electronically, often via email. Should any of the following situations arise in your household via the internet or online service, you should immediately contact your local or state law enforcement agency, the FBI and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Number 1, your child or anyone in the household has received child pornography. Number 2, your child has been sexually solicited by someone who knows that your child is under 18 years of age. And number 3, your child has received sexually explicit images from someone that knows your child is under the age of 18. So that's what you should do. Should any of the following situations arise in your household, then you must contact your local or state law enforcement agency, the FBI, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And that's if your child or anyone in the household receives child pornography. Also, if your child has been sexually solicited by someone who knows that your child is under 18 years of age, and also if your child has received sexually explicit images from someone that knows your child is under the age of 18. If one of these scenarios occurs, keep the computer turned off in order to preserve any evidence for future law enforcement use. Unless directed to do so by the law enforcement agency, you should not attempt to copy any of the images and or text found on the computer. Wow, that's awesome. That's some good information. We won't be able to finish this tonight. We'll finish this on Friday night. And Friday night, we'll take a look at what can you do to minimize the chances of an online exploiter victimizing your child. And, you can go to this article here. You can pull it right up for yourself at www.fbi.gov/publications/pguide, and it's called A Parent's Guide to Internet Safety, U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation Publications. And I mean, you can go ahead and read through this. It's such good information. And also on Friday, we'll look at frequently asked questions like, for instance, my child has received an email advertising for a pornographic website. What should I do? Is any service safer than others? Like, is there a certain service that's safer than others? And should I just forbid my child from going online? This is stuff that we can look at on Friday. And then there's helpful definitions and whatnot. And then we'll look at Wise Kids Internet Safety Agreement Friday. If we have time, I think we will. And also Safe Cyberspace Surfing. That's from Kids Health, from Noomers at http://kidshealth.org. That's another great website with some good information on there about safe cyberspace surfing and internet safety. So there's lots of good information out there. You just got to start looking around on the web, and you can find tons and tons of good information. So thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. I'm the Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children. I'm so happy to stand with them. Let me tell you, it's all about, promoting awareness, education, and prevention of child abuse to stop child abuse. And you can check out their website, I'm sorry, you don't have to do that anymore. It's just http://dreamcatchersforabusedchildren.com. It's a great website, lots and lots of good information on there, signs and symptoms of all the different kinds of child abuse. Really, we need to know the signs and symptoms of all the different kinds of child abuse. And if you suspect child abuse, report it. You could save a child's life. I could save a child's life by knowing the signs and symptoms. And if I suspect that a child is being abused, make the phone call. So important. Children are losing their lives every day, at the hands of caregivers and parents that just cannot cope. And, they might have mental issues or drug addictions or whatnot, and it's so sad because who pays the price? The children. And so, if someone was looking in on them, it's just, you just think that it could be caught in time. If everybody was looking out for all the children in their world, that this just shouldn't happen. And so, it's good. Education is the key. I really believe that. We need to become educated regarding the issues surrounding child abuse and human rights abuses. If we're ever going to make a difference, we're going to have to become educated and then get out there and find out how to stop this. You know what I mean? How to stop child abuse and how to stop human rights abuses. And it's really going to start, it has to be me and you to do it. It has to be us. So thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. I'll be back on tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, one child abuse survivor to another. I changed the time to 6 o'clock for a half an hour show. And so I'll be on tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And until then, have a great night, everybody. Take good care of yourselves. And remember, be safe out there. Stay safe online. Take care. Bye-bye.